It was the 1960s in America, and three young boys being raised in a trailer park in East Texas were becoming fast friends. They shared an interest in horror and superhero comic books, 8mm movies, and obscure records. Daniel Johnston, Jack Medicine, and Ron English were 8 years old when they first met. Oftentimes their mothers would lock them out of their trailers during the summer school holidays while their fathers were at work. This was understandable, as the hyperactive boys could be quite annoying to their mothers inside the small trailers. This left them to their own devices during the long summer days. They all three had their prized possessions, identical briefcases and unicycles, treasures they had relentlessly begged their parents for. Dan, Jack and Ron were an amusing sight in the small Texas town, ripping around on their unicycles, clutching their briefcases. Dan named their little gang the Hyperjinx Tricycle. The adults had little idea as to the actual adventures of the boys or the purpose of the briefcases. The boys were avid shoplifters. They would fill the briefcases with Playboy magazines and comic books at the local 5 and dime store and spirit their booty off to their secret hideout in the nearby woods, a rather impressive tree fort they had constructed of materials they had liberated from construction sites in the upcoming neighborhood. In their treehouse, they would sit for hours reading comic books and examining the forbidden fruit between the pages of the adult magazines. One day, maybe they would marry one of these goddesses that graced the glossy pages of the naughty magazines if they weren't sent off to their deaths in Vietnam first. Eventually, the boys' parents moved to the new addition into track houses with attached garages. The boys had been collecting records and were getting obsessed with having a band of their own. After some effective begging, the boys' parents granted their wishes. Dan was given an old piano and guitar, Jack a guitar, and Ron a set of red drums. They set up shop in Dan's new garage and started rehearsing the songs from the singles they had collected. Covering artists like Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, and the Beatles helped the lads hone their skills. It wasn't long before they were trying out their own song ideas. The songs were amateurish but clever, and they got a cassette player to record their efforts. They would even imitate the DJ banter at the beginning of the song.
This is DJ Big Bot Robot coming at you with the biggest hits of the day sandwich. Between annoying commercials, here's a hot new number by those West Texas legends, the Hyperjinx Tricycle.
It was customary at the time to have the DJ talk over the beginning of songs so fans would not be able to record them in their full measure. They named their band the Hyperjinx Tricycle. Things really changed for the three friends when both Dan and Ron received 8mm movie cameras for Christmas. Now their attention turned to homemade movies. Their first attempts at filmmaking were parodies of their favorite monster movies. Ron used his allowance to purchase mail-order makeup kits he would use to transform his friends into rather convincing monsters. They would use their small Texas town as a backdrop for their productions. Monsters on unicycles were a normal sight in the small Texas town. Filming in a real-world environment offered the unexpected bonus of authentic reactions from the townspeople. Ron decided the interactions with unsuspecting townfolk was far more interesting than the narratives of the monster movies, and their efforts went into making prankster films after that. Using firecrackers, prop guns and fake blood packs, they staged a shooting at the town square that attracted half the police department, fire department, and local news. Their enthusiastic English teacher allowed the boys to premiere their new films in her English class every few weeks to the delight of the students, many who played roles in the films. This all came to a crashing end when they showed a film of Ron on fire at the new mall. When the teacher asked him how he achieved such a convincing fire effect, he answered, "With 2 cans of charcoal lighter and a match."
Oh, I wish I had been warned.
Since the high school was out, the boys looked for another venue to show their movies. A local weed dealer had purchased the old community center and had turned it into an underground club. The boys started staging parties there where they would show their movies, which were silent, and use their band, the Hyperjinx Tricycle, to provide the soundtrack. The weed dealer would bring in a few kegs of beer and charge $1 a head at the door. The crowd loved the movies, many of them appeared in the films. They would cheer the kids they loved and boo the ones they hated, the audience reaction having nothing to do with the characters being played, but actual expressions of love or hate towards the kids themselves. In their senior year, the local factory, closed after an industrial accident, leveled an entire neighborhood around the factory, including the gymnasium of the high school the boys attended. The parents of the 3 boys all relocated to different states. Dan's family moved to West Virginia. Jack's family relocated to Colorado, and Ron's to Central Illinois. Like Cicadas, the 3 friends were able to get the old band together every 7 years or so to record a new album. Daniel Johnston went on to become a legendary musician, his songs being covered by the most famous musicians of our time, including Beck, David Bowie, and Dan's childhood hero Johnny Cash. Jack Medicine also had a fruitful musical life and opened a healing center in Colorado Springs, where he married the woman he escorted to his senior prom and raised 2 amazing boys of his own. Ron continued his prankster ways, repainting billboards and altering urban environments in a style he called vandal art, that later evolved into the street art movement that took over the world. Ron also had a family that helped him with his art, music and movies. Sadly, Daniel passed, and with him the Hyperjinx Tricycle. Currently, Jack Medicine and Ron English, along with Daniel's first producer Joe Johnston, are working on a rock opera about their old bandmate and friend.